Hello and welcome. This is your Eye of the Hand. The eye sees everything. Today we are going to talk about Planet X in a little more detail. And I just want to bring you full information and truth. Nothing more, nothing less. Not charging anybody for this. Why would I? God's word is free. Mark 13:25. The stars will fall from the sky. Let's go to the next one. And the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Okay. With that being said, this large planetary body that's coming in, that you see to your right from Thailand 3/13/2018, is actually disrupting the pole shifts, the axis of these planets, and they have been doing so for quite a while. It's been approaching for quite a few years, and as it's been approaching each year, the weather patterns get worse. I'm sure we can all agree that the weather patterns have been getting worse, a little extremely out of hand, like they're on steroids. With that being said, in my last video, I did a somewhat thorough video about the Egyptian Bible that they had from 3,600 years ago, which was warning humanity for later on times. And we all know that the elites, they have taken that information and they've kept it from us. But let's move on. Now, I want to let you know this has already happened. It happened on September 23rd, 2017. It's where Jupiter was in the stomach of Virgo for 9 months, going round and round and round. Okay? The sun was in back of her, and the moon was at her feet. It says, and a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant and was crying out in birth pains and the agony of giving birth. It's Revelations 12:1-2. Okay? So, see the crown of 12 stars above her head. Now, the Bible actually talks about constellations. It gets really deep in detail on constellations as well. And it talks about many other things as well. It talks about woodworking, which is carpentry. It talks about blacksmithing. It talks about survival. It talks about where to find certain precise stones and gems in the waterways. It talks about how to find food, how to find seed by watching the birds. It gives you a lot of tips. Basically, it is what it says it stands for. Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth. Because this Bible not only gives you all the basic instructions, but it also tells you about beings, UFOs. It speaks of them in Ezekiel. If you really want to get technical, it refers to angels as aliens and aliens as angels. And that will be for another video at another time. I would like to stick with the focus and on the topic here. Now, to be honest with you, these signs have been happening all over the world. But just like driving down the street, we don't think about the side streets or what they look like while we're driving down the street, unless we're driving down those side streets. So we don't open up our horizon past our, we don't venture into our peripheral or our subconscious to examine these situations, because the government has done such a good job using the stars and everybody else to program you through TV. Continuing. Revelations 12:3. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon. Okay, well, you might say, that could mean anything. That could mean anything. Well, let's move on. Revelations 12:4, the verse right after. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. Okay, well, let's clarify that. A third of the stars. Well, let's say, meteors and asteroids and whatever else debris that it collects along the way. And there is another verse that I didn't correlate with this, but it talks about it going through the iron belt. The iron belt would be the meteor belt that is out there halfway through our constellation. And so when it plows through that on its way to wherever it's, through coming this way, it blasts these meteors and these rocks towards the Earth. And, well, NASA has revealed that, and astronomers have revealed that we are getting ready to enter a debris field that will last for 100 years. This debris field, though, they're saying that nothing will hit us. We may have a few entries, but low impacts, nothing of any significance. Well, I want you to keep in mind that we have a meteor or an asteroid named Apophis, which is also mentioned in the Bible, coming this way. And not too sure whether or not it's going to hit the Earth or not. I think it's just maybe a large sign that something bigger is coming. Because where there's trouble, more trouble seems to follow. So, or how shall you say it? Where there's trouble, police are right behind. So, on your right, what you're looking at is you're actually looking at the stellarium photo taken from space of that star, the Red Dragon, that travels through the heavens with 3/4 of the stars in its tail that sweeps them down to the Earth like pillars of fire. Now, of course, when it goes by, it's going to cause the Earth to spin the opposite way, which is going to lead up to the verse of the stars will roll up like a scroll. Because, of course, it's going to look like they're rolling up like a scroll to us if the Earth spins the other way, and which, in turn, will make the mountains move out of place, and all kinds of hell will break loose. But the closer this thing gets, or the closer that it comes to passing by the Earth and we get closer to passing through the tail of it, it's going to continue to cause greater and greater earthquakes, more and more, until they just don't stop, which will lead up to all these volcanoes really going off. And it will bring the, how shall you say, lava to the surface. It will boil the oceans. The Earth will crack open. It'll swallow up the oceans. Also, at the same time, the sun is burning brighter and hotter because it's charging this thing up. And this thing is stealing the plasma off the sun to re-energize itself for its entry back out to space. So, with that being said, I don't know if people know what coronal holes are, coronal mass ejections are. Coronal holes is plasma that has been ripped off the sun, or escaped off the sun, as they call it. I say it's ripped off the sun by this thing. And when the Earth is in the proximity and direct line of that coronal hole, it ejects coronal mass ejections to the Earth, which is radiation into the Earth, which in turn is heating up the core of the Earth, like a microwave does its food, cooks it from the inside out. So as it's heating up the core of the Earth from the inside out, what's happening is the pressure is building because the lava is bubbling inside the Earth, and it's ripping away at chunks of the land, and it's growing in stature, in size. So the lava core is growing larger. And when the gases build up from ripping chunks of the land off, the gases build up. It's kind of like a soda bottle. You know, if you shake it, it kind of compresses with air and you can't squeeze it no more. Well, eventually, the pressure is going to build up to the point to where it's been doing what it's been doing, and it's been having deep earthquakes inside the Earth, cracking the Earth open to make room for the gas. And then the earthquakes, they stop for a while, And then the gas pressure builds up more, and it cracks even more, and this time it's more shallow, until eventually it cracks open to the surface like it did in Kenya, Africa. And the methane escaped. These gases escaped. I just wanted to give you a typical rundown, a 101 in the Red Dragon, Planet X, Nebula. And this rendering on the left-hand side is of a giant planet with a tail debris of a dust cloud in meteors. Okay? Now, I'm pretty sure you found that fascinating. Let's go to the next one. Psalms 11:6. He will rain down blazing coals and burning sulfur on the wicked, punishing them with scorching winds. Okay, well, what do you think? What do you think it's talking about when this thing says it swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth? Its tail did that. And then it says this. See, you got to understand, the verses are split up throughout the Bible. So you have to take them out of all the books, of all the chapters, and put them in correct order, which I have been assembling for quite some time. So now it says, he will rain down blazing coals and burning sulfur on the wicked, punishing them with scorching winds. All right. Well, blazing coals and burning sulfur. All right. And scorching winds. Well, that sounds to me a lot like meteors, hot meteors and asteroids coming down, crashing into the earth, sending hot waves through the earth, through the surface of the earth. And it's basically burning sulfur. I mean, think about it. You know, it's not that complicated. But you see the smoke, the burning sulfur. That's the shit inside the tail of that. That's all the burning sulfur. Okay? But that's pretty amazing. I mean, you could pretty much figure out what these Bible verses are saying. You understand? All you have to do is put a picture to it. And you'd be like, oh my God, holy shit, it actually makes sense. Well, yeah, it does make sense. And that's exactly what's going on. That's why the government has been hiding it from us with the chemtrails. That's why they've been spraying all them chemtrails in the sky. And they've been saying, for their excuse of doing it, is we're trying to reflect the sun's light back out into space to keep the earth from heating up, to stop global warming, or at least to slow it down. They said it's got metal particulates in it, like barium, strontium, copper, aluminum, shit like that. No, they're creating a type of hologram in the sky, and they're making the sky, to the best of their ability, look like a natural blue sky, or at night to where we cannot see this red. But it's not working too well for them. And they keep talking about every year they got to spray 1% to 2% more sprays in the sky because the sun is burning hotter every year. Well, I'm sorry to say, but they're blocking it out. But it's failing because people are getting video all over the world, getting video of a red sky at night. And you could see the ball. You could see the planet behind it, the burning planet. And of course, because the earth spins or rotates and it goes around the sun, you see it at different angles on different areas of the planet from different countries. But the verse says, Isaiah 25:7, and he will swallow up on these mountains, on this mountain, the covering that is cast over all people, the veil that is spread over all nations. What is a veil, ladies and gentlemen? It's a covering. Okay? Well, that's spread over all nations. Every country is doing this. So, for them, they're hiding what they don't want you to see. They don't want you to see that. That's what they don't want you to see. Okay? And as for the shape of this thing, it does take on different shapes. It's explained. If you read, there's a good book by Zachariah Stitchin called The End of Days. And in that book, they were signifying and talking about the ziggurat, which signifies the coming of the day of the Lord and the end of days. Now, the ziggurat is a temple. It's in a certain shape of certain dimensions. And I've noticed that in the beginning of 2020 and at the end of 2019, the show The Empire, the very first episode of the last season, is called The Beginning of the End. And on the stage, they showed the guy rapping on the stage, and the stage was in the shape of the ziggurat, which is a clear communication between the Illuminati. Okay? Now, anyways, in the beginning of the episode, they fast forward to the end and show Lionel Luthor get killed. Lion? So basically they're saying the death of God, the death of Christ and all that. So there's a lot of subliminal and biblical things that they show in TV and on the movies. But back to the shape of this thing. This thing, as it travels closer and closer, takes a different shape. We see it. It looks different each time. That's why it has 50 names. Jesus Christ was referred to by many different names. And, I mean, I don't want to take you into a long, drawn-out scenario, but you guys get the picture. I mean, this thing is not a joke. This thing is very real, 100%. And that's why they've started the Event 201 with the mandatory vaccines and, this locking people down and bringing in the government. Because there's something bigger that's going to come out of this. Not only are you going to receive, because on Trump's to-do list is facial recognition. His to-do list is finally, the last step is to complete the Biometrics Visualization Entry and Exit Act. You can look that up. That is the Biometrics Visualization Entry and Exit Act. Okay? That is where your face and your eyes are scanned into a computer system. Okay? That means when you go into a smart store, your face is linked to a digital account. You walk in, you grab what you want, and you walk out. Amazon Go stores, they're a perfect example of that. They're saying you can use your cell phone. Well, that's just the first steps. All right? And the chip, they're going to con people into getting the RFID chip inside their hand or something else, rather. It could be anything. They just want to keep you guessing, because they would have never revealed the chip unless they wanted people to run with that, and they had something better, something that couldn't be taken out, something that couldn't be removed. But this thing, they're going to tell you to get it. Get the chip, because it'll link all your vital signs to it, and hospitals will be able to tell if you're sick or not, and it'll be a benefit for you. They're going to tell you, and it's just a charade. They're just tricking you with convenience. Okay? They're taking away your safety and your security, all for easiness. It's easy for you, so why not? But meanwhile, you're not looking at the bad, the negative effects, or what it could possibly be used for. So I'm just letting you know, you won't be able to buy, trade, or sell without that mark or the image. Now, I'm going to do a video on that. It's going to be a separate video. And I'm going to include all the Bible verses with all the personal information on facial recognition and eye retina scans and the chip. And they're going to be matched right on up with the verses. So I'm going to bring you proof that the Bible is basically giving you all the information. And what I want to do is I want to better prepare you. I want to awaken your senses. I want to open up your eye, your pineal gland, so that way you can see these things before they happen. It's like a cheap movie. Once you're awake, you can see everything that they're planning. And my book is 150 pages done and printed so far. And I still have about another 500 pages, 600 pages to print. And each page is 1 to 2 Bible verses, or one Bible verse split up between pages with pictures to show what I'm talking about. And it is very well put together, and it is the only book like it in the world. There is nobody that possesses this book.